Hello and welcome to the Philippines. Today is December 23rd, 2017, and we're talking about travel. Travel can always be hectic, and especially during the holidays anywhere around the world. Millions and millions of people travel in the Philippines over the holidays. Oftentimes they get 1 or 2 days off, so there's a number of days where there's just a huge push of people to take the planes, the ferries, buses, and anything else they can latch on to get to their provinces to visit family. I'm using a site here called windy.com, and they do a very excellent job of showing what's going on in the earth. Over here on the right, you've got a number of options. Here we're looking at the wind. You can go to wind gusts. You can go to show rain and snow. You can go to show temperatures, clouds, waves. And down along the bottom, you also have some options. Down along the very bottom, you have the days. Today is it is just after noon on the 23rd. But if you want to go ahead and look ahead and see what the forecasts are, you can go ahead for a number of days as well and see what's predicted to be happening. Anyway, let's zero in a little bit here on the Philippines. And we've had a couple of things. We've been in our dry season for a couple of months, and yet here, right a week and a half before Christmas, we've had two big storms come through. And about a week ago, we had 4 or 5 cloudy days, and we had rain off and on for about 4 of those days. There are parts of the Philippines that got very heavy rain and very heavy flooding, and I will show you a little bit about that information. And let's zero in a little more. And what we have this time of the year is called our northeast monsoons. This weather coming out of basically the northeast. This is the Philippines here. And in about midway through June, usually that turns around and the wind comes from the southwest. And it comes up through here, usually wetter. It's called our Habagat monsoons. It's wetter, more moist, warmer air. Usually that comes up this way, and it puts us into our wet season. The big storm that just is passing, in fact, I think it's hitting Palawan even as we speak, called Vinta here in the Philippines. One thing about the Philippines, we take the international name for storms, and we change them once they come into the Philippine area of responsibility, which basically is a bit of a rectangle around the Philippines, and that is the Philippines area of responsibility for tracking that storm. We change the name, which confuses things a bit, and I'm sure there's a reason and a history behind that, why we do that, but at this point in time, I don't know what it is. It does become confusing, though. And what we have these storms coming in, and what I've said in other videos as well is that the typhoons, when they come, and we're not in the typhoon season, but typhoons don't always know what the season is. They don't always obey the human rules. But the typhoons come across the ocean, and they oftentimes move up this way, and I will show you some charts showing where they usually go. They usually go north out of here. We get these low pressure areas, these big storms, and occasionally they come right through the center of this area. And we've had 2 of them in the last about week and a half. And zero in a little more, and I'll show you what's happening here. This storm here is going to hit Palawan, I believe. Here's the long island of Palawan on the west side of the Philippines. And I believe this storm is going to hit the south end of Palawan. Has a Class 2 warning up. Class 1 is the first warning. I believe it's winds in the vicinity of 69 kilometers per hour, something like that. Class 2 warning steps up the wind closer to 90 kilometers per hour, I believe. Anyway, I'm going to go over here and show hit the rain also. So that shows what's happening with the rain. About a week ago, Boracay, which is up in this region, was hit with so much rain that 80% of the island was flooded. And it also, there was also, their main water main broke, so that most of the people had no potable water to drink. So that obviously creates a bit of a problem. A good reason to try to store a little bit of good water for emergencies. And it's one reason why I always say the Cebu, which is right here, I live in Cebu City, we are generally protected from these typhoons coming in. Number one, they usually head up north this way. Secondly, the energy in those typhoons is usually used up on these outer islands before they hit the island of Cebu. Not always. 2013, they had a big typhoon Yolanda come through here and especially damaged the north end of Cebu Island. Samar here, this island is Samar. This island, they look like they're almost connected. Leyte, Bicol region of Leyte got hit very, very hard. Many deaths, landslides, flooding, all that type of thing in the last about a week ago. This present storm, Vinta, came across. It hit Mindanao, the coast of Mindanao, I believe Friday, and it came across Cagayan de Oro, often known as CDO, up here in the north of Mindanao, the Davao region, and several regions in here got some. One thing that happens is because so much of the travel is done by ferry here in the Philippines, is they start shutting down ferry ports. We've got thousands of stranded travelers in Cebu City at Pier 1. Manila, boats up here that were coming down into this area, those ferries were canceled. Most of the ferries along any of these ports would have been canceled during this period of time, these storms. We had a ferry with about 251 people on board capsized a couple days ago, right up in this area between Queson, Luzon, the large island of Luzon, and I believe this island right here. Polito or something like that, right in here. And the news that I read, it keeps changing, but the news that I read was that when they left the port, the seas were not rough at all. But when they got out here, it's about a 2.5 hour ride over here. About 2 hours into that ride, very large waves come up, and water came over the front of the ferry. It was a fast craft, not a small boat, but not a real large boat. And when the water came over the front or over the side, all the people rushed to the other side of the ferry, which probably helped cause it to capsize, but that would be the natural inclination to run away from that water, obviously. We've also had many flights originating and coming into the Philippines canceled because of these storms. Here's the track of the first storm, named Philippines Urduja, or Duha, something like that. And what a crazy storm. It meandered around in the Pacific. Looks like it backed up at one point, went a little bit further north. These are affected by wind currents from the north, from all around it, that push it around, as well as the sea and the temperature of the sea. They have a great effect on these big storms. Anyway, it hit Samar, Leyte area big time. The Biliran area of Leyte was especially hit hard with landslides, bridges out, lots and lots of flooding, infrastructure washed away, and many people had to be evacuated, not just from here, but many other areas as well. This may be a picture of the ship that capsized, very similar anyway, a fast craft. Here shows some of the rescue operations in those heavy seas, and the area that happened up there in the Queson area, not so far from Manila. From what I've read, most of these people were rescued, and there are a lot of boats in these seas, so other boats are oftentimes not very far away, even though it was very rough seas. It's amazing. I think 5 or 6 people died. There are 7 or so still missing, I understand, but most of them were rescued. This shows the track of Vinta, and I believe it's going to hit especially hard the Palawan and the southern third of Palawan here today, later today. Pagasa is the Philippine agency that does the tracking and puts out the information. These 15 tracks show you typhoon tracks during the year 2016, so it gives you an idea there again how they track north usually, and up towards Taiwan, towards Japan, sometimes back out to sea. So that's some interesting information. So consider these things when you travel in the Philippines or anywhere. There are wet seasons, there are monsoon seasons. In the U.S., different places around the world, you have tornadoes, hurricanes, typhoons that are very disruptive to travel, whether you're going by air or sea or bus or whatever. And especially in the Philippines, very mountainous islands in many areas, 2-lane roads. It's very easy for heavy rains to cause landslides and shut those roads down. Very common when we get heavy rains to get flooding in the towns and cities. I don't see it so much in Cebu City as you do in the outlying areas, but where you've got probably better canals here in the city, perhaps. And so have fun, plan your travels, look at the weather ahead of time, be safe. Sometimes these vehicles drive into, in Arizona, I know we have a lot of washes. The water can rain in the mountains, and you don't even see the storm, and here comes a big rush of water down and crosses the road and pushes even big trucks off into the gullies. Anyway, thank you for coming along. Please like, share, and subscribe. Safe travels to you all. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you all, whatever you're celebrating, and we'll see you next time.